Good evening and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the south. 6 drown in 6 days along the south coast. The advice everyone needs to know about surviving a rip current.
Tears of joy and disappointment as students in the south get their GCSEs.
Centenary celebration. A sail pass for the Royal Navy's coastal force in Portsmouth.
And a blast from the past, the 48th Great Dorset Steam Fair gets underway. Good evening. 6 people have drowned in just 6 days in one of the deadliest periods to have hit the south coast in years.
Yesterday, 5 men died after they got into difficulty in the sea at Camber Sands in Sussex. And last weekend, a 50-year-old man died at Sandbanks in Poole after he got caught in dangerous currents.
Rip currents account for 60% of all RNLI incidents and are a major cause of drowning.
So, with the hot weather drawing thousands of us to beaches along the south coast, how do you stay safe in the water? Richard Slee reports now from West Wittering.
In the summer months, up to a dozen lifeguards are on duty at West Wittering. The tide here rises and falls quite quickly, and holidaymakers can face hidden dangers. That's why the RNLI recommend people swim only between the flags.
On an outgoing tide, all the water's flowing out back into the sea, so we get some really strong currents kind of mid-tide after high tide.
Do you think swimmers understand how that can be quite dangerous?
No, I don't think many people have much idea on what goes on at a beach. There is a lot of signage at many beaches, but not many people pay much attention to this, and not many people listen to lifeguards' advice.
The rip current that killed 5 people at Camber Sands yesterday would have looked something like this: a narrow, fast-moving channel of water that starts near the beach and extends beyond the wave line. They appear to be calmer stretches of water, where waves are not breaking and where you can see foam or sediment being transported offshore. Rip currents typically form at breaks in sandbanks. Waves break near the shoreline, piling up water between sandbanks and the beach, returning to the sea as a fast-moving body of water. Sadly, the events at Camber Sands means that today more people do know what a rip current is. Unfortunately, there is still some confusion about what to do if you get caught up in one.
I think maybe swim with it and wait till it and then come back round the other side or something.
I think you're meant to swim across the shore rather than in or out.
Try and swim with it, I think, and keep going, I believe. Not really sure.
You should wait and not try and fight it until you go out a bit further and then try and get to one side and get back up the beach.
The expert advice is to stay calm. A rip current is unlikely to pull you under the water. It'll take you away from shore. Don't try and swim against the current, as it'll just tire you out. Instead, wait until you're beyond the current and swim along the beach and back into shore with the breaking waves. Of course, the best advice of all is to only swim on beaches with trained lifeguards and only swim between the flags where the water is safe. Richard Slee, ITV News, West Wittering.
And you can see a list of lifeguarded beaches and more on water safety on our website. Go to itv.com/Meridian.
The I360 in Brighton has been vandalised just 3 weeks after opening. A large crack was found on the glass of one of the pods. It's since been fixed, but I360 say security is being stepped up and CCTV cameras are going to be installed.
Police in Sussex are looking for a woman caught on CCTV taking a tip jar from a cafe in Brighton. It happened at Little Miss Piggy's on St James Street last Saturday. It contained £45 and was stolen when a member of staff had her back turned.
Train passengers are facing yet more chaos after the RMT union announced workers at Govia Thameslink, including Southern, will strike on September the 7th in protest at ticket office closures. It coincides with a walkout over the role of guards. The company has urged the union to call off their action. They say they want to get back round the table to find a solution.
Good grades dropped and there's been a fall in the number of students taking creative subjects such as dance, art and music. Tens of thousands of students collected their GCSE results today amid ongoing reform of the examination system.
But at several schools here in the south who were previously struggling, there were big turnarounds in their fortunes. For individual pupils, big surprises and a lot of tears, as our social affairs correspondent Christine Alsford now reports.
Almost everywhere you looked at Portsmouth Academy, there were tears of joy and disbelief. GCSE results here are up dramatically after a tough few years when the school was in special measures.
Today's results are the culmination of 3 years of hard work and resilience and courage from every member of staff.
The national trend is downwards, but results here have jumped up by 15%. Nearly 2/3 of pupils now achieving 5 good grades, including English and maths.
I'm really happy with what I've done. I'm happy because I revised a lot and all that paid off.
Aubrey, I got a B in. Hope ahead.
I passed everything, all my important subjects, and only got 1 D. I actually thought I was going to fail everything today. I'm happy.
You look very happy. You're crying your eyes out.
The tears of joy.
Success also on the Isle of Wight in the week that the Ofsted chair stepped down over derogatory comments branding the island an underachieving ghetto. Ryde Academy's results vastly improved.
I think that these results send out a powerful message to say that there's a big turnaround of island schools, that actually the children on this island can achieve as well, if not better, than anywhere else.
After the fire that destroyed Selsey Academy at the weekend, pupils had to collect their results from a nearby primary school. But the head teacher says despite an impossibly difficult week, he's delighted that under new measures to judge schools based on the progress pupils make, they've done well.
Have been upset, but the students have been delighted with the results that they've received. Our students have made significantly better progress than students nationally.
This is the last year where results will be given out solely as letters of the alphabet. From next summer we start moving to a numbering system 1 to 9, where 9 is the highest. But will everybody miss all those A stars?
I think I prefer the lettering system.
Would you prefer to have a string of A stars or would you prefer to have 9s?
Definitely A stars, it sounds a lot better. A's and A stars just sound better, everyone instantly knows what you got. It's the numbers are just going to take a while to get used to.
Those who haven't quite made the grade in English and Maths this year will be required to resit. So for pupils like Jodie at the Costello School in Basingstoke, a big relief.
I was pretty sure I was going to get a D in Maths, but I got a C, and I can't believe it. I got an A!
Today's achievements may be down on last year, but for the vast majority of young people, it will be enough to successfully unlock the next stage of their future.
I'm very, very proud.
And leave plenty of parents reaching for the tissues. Christine Alsford, ITV News.
People heading to the Victorious Festival in Portsmouth over the bank holiday weekend are being advised to plan their travel to avoid long delays. 120,000 people are expected at Southsea seafront. A special park and ride has been put in place and a shuttle bus will operate for those using the Hayling Island ferry service.
Plans to reopen a cinema in the New Forest that stopped showing films 50 years ago have been approved. The Regal in Fordingbridge has stood empty since a pottery business closed in 2013.
It may have been extinct for hundreds of years, but a dodo skeleton is to be auctioned in Billingshurst this November. It's expected to reach up to £500,000.
A bargain. Well, you're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Still to come tonight.
A life-changing challenge. 3 young boys who are determined to ditch their old lifestyles and lose the weight.
For more on all of our stories, head to itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, then call us please. The number to ring is 0808 1010 095 or get in touch via Facebook or send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
And the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. Here's Alistair Stewart.
As the death toll in Italy's earthquake continues to rise, even the good news is tinged with sadness. As aftershocks cause continuing hazards, this little girl survived, clutching a sister who didn't. Here, a hospital suspends children's A&E, saying a lack of skilled staff means it's just not safe. And Nigel Farage backs Donald Trump at a US rally. Trump says he's the Brexit man. Join Charlene White and me at 6:30.
Now, prostate cancer is the most common cancer amongst men, and yet many men still don't know how to recognise symptoms of the disease.
The latest figures show over 39,000 men are diagnosed each year in the UK.
7,000 of them are in the southeast, more than any other region in the country.
1 in every 8 men will develop the condition in their lifetime. That's why knowing the symptoms of the disease can be life-saving. Here's Lauren Hall.
These scenes are from a play performed at the Brighton Fringe about a man dying from prostate cancer. In the lead role was actor David Keogh. In a strange twist of fate, while the play was on, he was diagnosed with the condition himself.
There's a line from Jeff in the play where he says he feels like he's got a ticking time bomb inside of him, and it feels a little bit like that. I know it's in there, I can't do anything about it, I just have to wait for it to go off.
David had been invited to take part in medical research after his father died from prostate cancer. He was tested, and while most of his results came back clear, a biopsy then revealed he had the early stages of the disease.
I only went through the research in order to help with the study, so that I could make a positive difference, trying to do something good. I certainly wasn't expecting to be diagnosed. Yeah, that was a huge shock.
47,000 men are diagnosed with it every year in the UK, and 1 in 8 are expected to develop it in their lifetime. Today, Prostate Cancer UK announced it will be awarding grants totalling £2.6 million to help fund research and improve how we treat the disease.
Well, a long-term aim is to improve long-term survival of patients. I mean, that's absolutely key. I think we want to try and eradicate prostate cancer after treatment as a problem going forward for men with the disease.
2 other charities have also launched an awareness campaign, which they call Manifestation. It's aimed at men who already have prostate cancer to make sure they speak up about any symptoms which may represent advanced stages of the disease, like tiredness, bone pain and difficulty passing urine.
There's many men suffering with prostate cancer already, and they may develop symptoms during the course of their illness which they may not necessarily recognise are things that they should be bringing to the attention of their healthcare professional. So this campaign is to raise awareness of some of those signs and symptoms.
David and his partner know just how important it is. They're determined to do all they can and say they'll fight the disease together. Lauren Hall, ITV News.
Well, despite the risks, men are still reluctant about getting checked out. Earlier, I spoke to Rebecca Porter from the male cancer charity Orchid. Rebecca Porter, thanks for joining us tonight. So knowing the early signs is vital, isn't it? Can you tell us a bit more about them?
So men should be on the lookout for general health changes. So things like going to the loo more frequently, general pain, feeling uncomfortable, anything that seems slightly out of the norm.
There's the age-old problem that men just aren't as good as women at going to the doctor, but they shouldn't feel awkward if they're worried.
Absolutely. And a recent survey showed, in fact, that about 82% men over the age of 40, in fact, did go to the doctor to talk about healthcare issues. So it's really important that men go to the doctor, they talk about any concerns, talk about any worries that they have.
Now, diagnosis can have emotional as well as physical effects. So what support is out there?
There is some very good support out there. So at Orchid, our charity, we run a male cancer helpline. We provide information in the form of leaflets, web-based information. So really good support service. And we work together with a charity called Tackle Prostate Cancer. And they have support groups right across the UK. They have about 84 support groups where men come together, meet, chat about some of the issues and concerns they have.
News today that universities are to share a £2.6 million pot of money for research. Is that a game changer, do you think, and how could the money be spent?
Absolutely. I think it's really exciting. Research into prostate cancer is desperately needed. We need to understand the disease. We now need to find new ways to treat and manage the disease. And we need to look at the sort of long term, understanding what happens in prostate cancer and what we can do to improve the outlook for future generations of men.
A good diet and regular exercise can reduce the risk. What's your advice for men to start doing from today?
Very, very important is get to know your body, understand possible signs and symptoms, be aware of any changes in your body. It's really important. Exercise, as you rightly say, is important. A good diet, Mediterranean diet, for example. So be on the lookout for any changes and lead a healthy lifestyle. Also, we would urge men at risk of prostate cancer. So men, for example, Black African and Black Caribbean men are at risk at a younger age as well. So be aware of some of the signs and symptoms and some of the risk factors as well.
Good advice. Rebecca Porter from Orchid, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Now for the latest in our series, following 3 young boys on their weight loss journey.
In the UK, 19% of 11-year-olds are now obese, and they risk more health problems if they stay that way as they enter adult life.
Our trio are determined to change and have been on a 12-week training programme. Tonight the boys meet professional tennis player Scott Clayton for some fitness advice. Here's Jessica Savage.
So far in Fat to Fit, there have been tears.
Keep going, keep going.
There have been laughs.
Here we go.
And now Senna, Harrison and Noah have just 3 weeks left on their life-changing 12-week fitness programme. The boys are working harder than ever.
One, off you go!
Junk food is a thing of the past.
He's still eating things that, that he really wants to eat as well, but doing that in moderation.
And all that effort is paying off.
Compared to what I was, I look like a supermodel.
For our trio, the end is in sight for the very first time. They're now so motivated they've begun working out in their own time and each in their own way. Senna's been doing water sports.
I want to be more fit, so when I go flow riding and stuff like that, so I can get better and I can do like more tricks.
Noah's been focusing on running.
I really like the beach, so running along or on the beach.
And Harrison's been getting active too.
I've gone cycling a few times, and every other day I've been going for a walk or a run. I'm really proud of myself this week because I've been doing loads of exercise and I've been trying to eat really healthy, and I think I have been.
And their hard work is paying off.
I just look sort of normal. I don't stand out. I still sort of look a bit on the chubby side, but I don't look like this freak of science.
Did you feel before that you looked like a freak of science?
Yes.
That sounds very harsh on yourself. Why did you think that?
Because I want to look fit. I want to play sports to the best of my ability because I love sports. And the fact that my body was putting me behind everybody else, I thought, right, I need to be fit now.
With confidence levels up, Noah and Senna are taking part in their school's summer sports day, something neither of them had the self-belief or the energy to do before. And to give the boys a boost as they face the final weeks on this life-changing programme, we've brought them to this tennis club to meet professional player Scott Clayton.
I don't normally play tennis, and it's quite a fun sport just hitting it round.
Keep watching the ball into the racket. Good boy.
It's a local hero, it's a local role model, and he's actually a really good teacher.
You want to hit it there, okay? Not there, not there, there.
He taught me a few new things which I didn't know before.
Good shot.
And the boys weren't the only ones left feeling inspired.
Seeing that they actually want to do it and they want to improve and they're happy with the progress they're making is brilliant. To meet them is, yeah, it's great for me, it's inspiring for me as well because, you know, they're obviously working hard.
Tomorrow, After 12 tough weeks, the end of the programme finally arrives. But not everyone's celebrating.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do when it finishes because I don't think I'd have the willpower to do it, to do anything.
And it's time for the final weigh-ins. But have the boys achieved their goals, lost weight and gone from fat to fit? Tune in tomorrow.
Look forward to that tomorrow.
Yes, hope they've achieved their
Yeah,
goals.
they've worked so hard.
They have.
deserve it.
Now, some more news, and more than 5,000 crimes each year reported to Sussex are not being recorded. That's according to a new report by Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary, which rated Sussex as good overall, but estimates that up to 1,100 violent crimes and 130 sexual offences are not being reported.
There are some improvements to be made. We are pleased to note, for example, all their rape records were correctly recorded. However, there's improvements to be made to improve their recording of violent crime and also of some sexual offences as well. The good doesn't mean outstanding, and they need to make those changes to improve.
Campaigners against a new runway at Gatwick Airport have sent 32 buckets and spades to government ministers. They claim a bigger Gatwick would benefit overseas holidays at the expense of UK resorts. The airport says expansion at Gatwick would create 28,000 new jobs.
Thousands of music fans will be in Reading from today for the annual festival. Drivers in the town are warned of increased traffic and advised to take alternative routes. The Red Hot Chili Peppers are one of the headline acts.
There's a warning about using public Wi-Fi. Dorset Police says networks, if not fully secure, could be hijacked by cybercriminals who could defraud individuals or even steal their identity.
Now in sport and football, and AFC Bournemouth won away at Morecambe 2-1 last night to book their place in the third round of the League Cup, thanks to goals from Max Gradle and Mark Wilson on his debut.
Well, that win means Bournemouth will host Preston North End in the next round. Brighton are at home to Reading, while an all-Premier League encounter sees Southampton welcome Crystal Palace.
Now, they were known as the Spitfires of the Sea, small wooden boats armed with torpedoes and used in World War II.
Well, today, some of the vessels that survived marked 100 years of the coastal forces with a sail past in Portsmouth.
Our reporter Richard Jones joined veterans to watch them.
Fast, agile, deadly. The boats of the coastal forces might have been small, but they packed a punch. They were in the thick of the action through 2 world wars, attacking enemy craft, rescuing downed pilots from the sea, and taking part in both Dunkirk and D-Day. The first 6 took to the water in 1916. By the Second World War, there were many more.
Vessels like this one, Motor Gunboat 81, there were 2,000 of these kind of vessels. 30,000 men in coastal forces. They fought over 1,000 actions. They sank 500 vessels. They did numerous special operations, clandestine operations as well. And they won 3,000 gallantry awards and were the most decorated arm of the Royal Navy in World War II.
Most of these boats were made out of wood. They were powered by petrol and they carried huge amounts of ammunition, a combination that made them very dangerous places to be. Peter Bickmore was a young sailor on board coastal forces boats in the Mediterranean for 4 years. He says the danger wasn't something he thought about. His real memories are of comradeship.
That was the joy I realise now of being in coastal forces is the fellowship, the camaraderie, the attitude that here we were on boats of that size, you know, of say 12 crew and 2 officers. You had, you know, you got on.
5 surviving coastal forces craft, all now fully restored, took part in the sail past in Portsmouth Harbour. They were joined by a P2000 class patrol boat HMS Smiter, today's equivalent to these historic boats. Watching was Robin Coventry, who fought in the English Channel for 3 years in World War II. He served with some real characters.
including one Scotsman who was the head of his clan, which I better not mention, and he had a pet mouse which had been delivered by train from Harrods with instructions how to feed and water and sleep, and he carried it in his pocket.
The Coastal Forces Heritage Trust says the role of these boats has been overlooked. They hope to change that by setting up a museum to preserve the history of both the craft and the men who served in them. Richard Jones, ITV News.
And from celebrations on the water to some on the land now, as the Great Dorset Steam Fair got underway today to celebrate all things steam.
Yes, tens of thousands of people descended on what was a slightly damp Dorset village to see what's thought to be the world's largest collection of vintage engines.
And more will arrive over the next 5 days to marvel at the 200 machines on show. Here's Bob Cruz.
A visit to the Great Dorset Steam Fair is all about soaking up the smell and the sound of a bygone era, and the noise is really something. A change in the date to stage the show on the bank holiday weekend before the end of the school holidays has allowed more families to come. Last year, attendance suffered because schools had already gone back.
Fantastic. We couldn't come last year because of that, so it's made a massive difference.
We have a motorhome. We come up every year. We've been coming for 16 years. And we come every single year and we absolutely love it. And the children do as well now. Now they've come along, but yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Lived in Dorset for 30 years and first time here.
Seriously?
Yes.
You've never come before?
Never come before.
Taking visitors 100 years into the past, the Battle of the Somme tribute. People have a chance to walk through the trenches and see some of the vehicles used in World War I, like this Holt 75. These were used as gun tractors and were said to have inspired the early tanks.
After the war, a lot of these vehicles that have been found on farms because we didn't need them any longer for the war, but they were very, very useful and they were sold off to French farmers because we couldn't bring them back, or any surplus in England, which have now been found in barns or whatever and lovingly restored.
When it comes to loving restoration, you can't beat the line of show engines. The pride the owners take in their machines is really something, and they love to show them off.
I've been coming here about 30 years now. Not with the engine. This is only the second year that I've bought the engine, but it's just the biggest show in the world. There's nowhere like it to compare it.
For a real experience of the power of steam, this fairground ride shows modern attractions how things used to be done, built in 1900, but every bit as exciting as today's rides.
What was it like? Absolutely brilliant fun. That's the ride before any health and safety. That's fantastic, that ride. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
And make sure you don't have your lunch before you go on it.
Oh yeah, now we can go and have lunch.
Lunch and a bit of shelter too. Bob Cruz, ITV News at the Great Dorset Steam Fair.
Well, full steam ahead into the weather now with Helen Plinth.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Hello there, a very good evening to you. Well, spectacular skies over the south last night, and there's more where that came from this evening. So thundery downpours at times, plenty more lightning as well. That said, though, tomorrow we do end the working week on a high. There'll be lots of sunshine around. At the moment, though, you can see this is that feed of showers working its way up through the Channel Islands and towards the northeast overnight tonight. Could turn heavy at times, but hot on its heels. That high pressure replaces all of this for tomorrow. So lots of brightness around, and it also introduces warm air come Saturday. Overnight, though, at least it will be that little bit fresher potentially, but still stuffy. Overnight lows are between 13 and 17 degrees. Always warmest furthest east over the next 24 hours. And as I say, further wet weather tracking its way northeastwards. So downpours at times. But by tomorrow morning, well, it should be largely dry and clear out there. Lots of sunshine around, perhaps just a little lingering cloud for a while, but into the afternoon, feeling fresher, but still highs of 24 degrees in the brightness. And I'll leave you now with tomorrow's high tide times. I'll see you soon.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, in just a moment, it's the ITV Evening News with Alistair Stewart and Charlene White.
But now, though, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Good night.